The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network, where you can find us as well as other excellent podcasts such as Sarcasm City, Worst Millennials, and Late Night Gamers at podbros.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Blokebusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Police got off! Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
And this is?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, where was I?
Welcome to episode 114 of the Blokebusters podcast. I'm Paul.
I'm Pat.
And today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. But first, go over the bits and pieces that we normally do. So you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram at Blokebusters. You can email us at theblokes@blokebusters.com. You can go to blokebusters.com and it looks lovely there. It's very nice and shiny. And you can also check our Patreon out. It's patreon.com/blokebusterspodcast. And it's just a few little things there if you want to even just give us $1 a month just to keep the lights on and
just pass a tip.
Just if you enjoy us, if you feel like we're worth $1 a month, that would mean the world to us. So thank you very much to those who have already donated, and thank you to you who are considering doing so. So
pass that season's greetings on.
Yes, exactly. Despite the fact this is probably going to come out
still the new, like just before the new holiday, holidays,
Yeah.
You give it some. Not that we're dating this podcast at all right now.
No, not at all. Not that we're going to specify that this was recorded on 27th of December. But yes. Right, so, Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, directed by Bob Persichetti, I think.
That's a curse word.
Yeah, Peter Ramsey and Rodney Rothman.
3 directors.
Yes, has a budget of $90 million, and so far, to 13 days, it has a box office of $143,949,916 US worldwide. So it's doing quite well.
Is that because usually for a movie to be considered profitable, doesn't it have to almost double that budget?
You basically have to assume that any film budget that is given doesn't include marketing. So yeah, it generally is seen as double the budget is the sort of benchmark. Mm-hmm. But I feel that at this point in time, when it comes to just the box office, especially the first 2 weeks are generally the biggest draws. Mm-hmm. But films like this, I think, continue to do well in VOD and sales after that. So I think that having made almost 1.5 times its budget, actually no, pretty much made just over 1.5 times its budget in 2 weeks, I think this film is definitely going to be fine.
Yeah. Sony did it. Well, technically Sony did it with Venom too, but Venom is...
I have not seen Venom myself, and I don't feel the need to, despite how much I do enjoy Tom Hardy.
Let's take it from somebody who's a comic fan and watch it go, it's so bad it circles around to being good again.
Oh, well, kind of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger comedy.
Yes! It's the perfect definition. You're watching it and you're thinking, man, this is going to get good. Oh, it's just keep going down. It's going down. It's hit the floor. But it bounced right back up to being just, what the hell?
Yeah. A lot of what the hell. In fact, myself and my wife sat down to watch Jingle All the Way a few days ago.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I have good nostalgia for that one, despite the fact that I'm aware that it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger comedy. And we finished watching it. Yes, indeed. Sinbad, who did not star in a film called Shazam. No, that was Shaquille O'Neal in Kazam, people. But anyway, we finished watching it. My wife turned to me and just said, "That was awful." And I said,
Really?
"Yes, it was." And she said, "It's bad." I said, "Yes, it is."
She'd never seen it?
She had seen it ages ago, but hadn't seen it in well over a decade at this point. So she was coming back to this as just like, oh, let's give it a go. But it's like, no, seriously, it's a terrible film, but it's fun anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, you got the late great Phil Hartman as the lovable bad guy, as it were. So, yes.
What a weird movie that was.
Very odd.
Get the Turbo Man!
Yeah.
Come here, Jimmy.
Yeah, it was a very, very strange film.
Well, tell me any, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger film of its time that wasn't, like, strange.
Oh, no, yeah.
There's a movie where he's pregnant.
Yeah, Junior. Yeah, I love that film.
I remember he has a twin brother who's a midget.
Yeah, played by the doctor who made him pregnant in Junior.
Danny DeVito.
Yep, once again. Have you heard of, I have no idea if they've gone further with the project, but at the very least, they had signed on an actor to play the third brother that is found.
No!
Oh, yes, it was going to be called Triplets. Would you hazard a guess as to who would be playing the triplet of
Danny DeVito,
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito?
Okay. My guess would be, I would love to just say Sylvester Stallone.
Nope.
But I know they wouldn't go that cheeky with
no,
it.
they're not.
Chuck Norris.
Nope.
That would be awesome.
I mean, cool idea, but you're kind of thinking the wrong way.
I know.
Eddie Murphy.
Frick, no!
Yep.
That'd be a terrible idea.
Yes, it would.
Oh, no!
I'd watch it in a heartbeat, but it would be a terrible film.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah.
Lord, forgive the sins of man. This is not a...
He's
even retired. He hasn't chosen to.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, if Arnold Schwarzenegger came to you and said, "Hey, I want you to be in one of my films," then you think you'd still do it.
But that's like an Adam Sandler coming up to you. He's like, "You want to be one of my knockoff films where I'd make it over like 5 weeks?"
Well,
like,
most people say yes to that as well.
Most people say yes to that, and then they realize afterwards, like, why did I do that? It's like waking up with a bad hangover. Like, what did I do? Why do I feel so violated?
Yes, but to be fair...
To be fair to what?
To be fair to Arnold...
Okay, to Arnold, okay.
His
Sorry,
films...
I thought we were talking about Adam Sandler.
No.
We're not giving him any fairness.
No. To be fair to Arnold, his films are bad, but fun to watch.
Yes. Old Adam Sandler films are bad but fun to watch, but steadily and increasingly get worse and worse to where they're just utter garbage now.
Yeah, pretty much any film that he is behind is terrible. Yes. Any film that he is in that has nothing to do with him is really good. Have you seen, The Moritz Stories or whatever it is?
The what?
It's on Netflix. I heartily recommend watching it. He plays a guy in it. It's a dramatic role, and he is phenomenal.
I've heard he's been a phenomenal actor. Where's that one where he's in the movie with Don Cheadle, where he's like his family was killed in the 9/11 attacks?
I'm not sure. I was about to say Punch Drunk Love because he's apparently good in that, but no, I'm not sure.
I've heard that's like a really not that it's a great film, but it's a great drama. Like a really well put together one.
Yeah, it's really odd that a lot of these comedic actors you find out are phenomenal in dramatic roles. Yeah. Like Will Ferrell. I absolutely hate Will Ferrell comedy, but he is an astounding actor.
Yeah. What's that one where he's like in the novel?
Stranger Than Fiction.
That's a great movie.
That was the film that basically turned my opinion on.
I know, same here. I'm like, Will Ferrell, he can't be. And then I watched it, I'm like, wow, why does he do more stuff like that? That was phenomenal. Steve Carell?
Yeah,
oh man,
I haven't seen Fox Hunter yet, but I have heard nothing but good stuff about him in that as well.
What's that movie? Good Morning Sunshine?
No, Little Miss Sunshine.
Little Miss Sunshine. That's a great one.
It is.
Oh, okay. We got sidetracked.
I was going to say, yeah.
Sorry. No.
Once again, this podcast is about Spider-Man into the Spiderverse.
We are talking about movies.
We are. Yes. Yes. Thanks for hanging on there. We do eventually get to that point.
I'm like a goldfish. I see the things and I go for it, and then I get lost.
Yes. Ooh, shiny thing.
Yes. But back on to, we were talking about the budget, and like it's currently still on track to definitely be making its dues.
Yeah, it'll definitely make back its budget, including its marketing. Just based on, I'm sure it'll be in cinemas for the next month or so. It'll catch up.
And if you're any follower of Twitter, it's just exploding out there.
Yes,
it's actually like it has one of the biggest trending things right now because of Into the Spiderverse. One of the creators from the movie, started to make a hashtag called Spidersona.
Okay.
And the whole concept is create your own Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
And it's caused this huge ripple effect on Twitter where, like, you see all these high-end and low-end people creating their version of Spider-Man, like, their own character. It's really kind of cool because you see, like, hundreds of interpretations of... Because, like, in comics, I've seen hundreds of these interpretations of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it's really kind of cool to see, like, what would the typical person come up with?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's even taking... rather than just thinking cosplay, it's like people are taking just a concept and running with it, and so rather than having to go to Comic-Con or other conventions are available, and seeing people who spend several months putting this stuff together, now you've just got people that are just like, oh, I'll just come up with this real quick and put it out there, and so you've got so many just different variants, and it's not something that people have spent a huge amount of time on, although I'm sure there are plenty that have one in their back pocket somewhere. But yeah, they've really sort of hit the nail on the head, especially with just marketing. So, speaking of, actually, before we get into the people who are in this, because there's a lot of them, I think a good thing to point out about this is something that I said before, and I'll definitely say it again, that I hate about trailers for films recently, is that they give away way too much. Every trailer I saw for this didn't give away that much.
No. In fact, it's one of the few times I've ever seen where the trailer... Like, because how many people were genuinely excited for this movie before the trailers come out? Sony's making their own Spider-Man knockoff film.
Yeah.
Everyone was panning this thing.
Everyone was like, no, Sony, please.
No, I was one of those, like, Sony, leave it alone. And after watching Venom, I was even more scared. But talk about such a good marketing campaign.
Yeah.
And trailers who, like, we can't spoil everything, but we need to get people hyped for this. And, like, they timed them all really, really well. Because I love the one trailer they put out where at the end of it's like, how many other Spider people are? Oh, get ready for Comic-Con. And, like, literally it was meant to lead up to Comic-Con where they were going to show their second trailer. Like, whoever that marketing team was were geniuses for the first time ever. First time ever they actually got their act together.
Yeah, and then even they had the trailer that pretty much showed you every Spider-Man that was in it.
Yeah.
For the majority of the time.
Yeah.
And that trailer came out, but it was... You still didn't really know that much. No. You just knew that all these things were there, and then of course Spider-Ham turns up, and it's like, oh, this film is really going there. All right, Spider-Pig, isn't it?
I wonder if like this is a trend we're going to start seeing, because like remember Infinity War and Deadpool, they put out trailers that were entirely misleading to what we actually saw in the given product. And I think I'm hoping that's the trend we're going to start going for.
Oh, I hope so.
Because like that's way you're not getting spoiled.
Yeah.
And when you go to see the movie, your expectations kind of blow. It's like I was waiting for that scene and it didn't pop up.
Yeah. Well, one of the best things is that you don't realize that the Spider-Man that you see meeting Miles in the trailer is not the Spider-Man
we're going to follow.
That we follow. So it was really well done. I had no clue they were going that way with it.
Well, we'll get into it a bit, but because one of the things I wanted to bring up with the plot, which I thought was really kind of weird with the marketing, was how they advertised it originally, and then towards when it was coming out and releasing, how they changed the marketing. But that will require me spoiling some of the story.
Yeah, so let's see. I'm just going to very quickly run down some of the people that are in this, because I need to do this quickly or we're going to be here for ages. So, you have as Miles Morales, or Spider-Man, Shamik Moore. You have as Peter B. Parker, or Spider-Man, Jake Johnson. You have as Peter Parker, or Spider-Man, Chris Pine. You have as Gwen Stacy, or Spider-Woman, Haley Steinfeld. You have as Aaron Davis, or Prowler, which is actually a really cool character, I thought. And it's Mahershala Ali, and if you're wondering why that name sounds familiar, he was Cottonmouth in the first Luke Cage stuff. So then you had...
He lives!
Yes! You had Brian Tyree Henry as Jefferson Davis, who is Miles' father. And you had Lily Tomlin as May Parker. And going down, you did have Mary Jane Watson Zoe Kravitz was that. And then as Peter Porker, or Spider-Ham, you had John Mulaney. As Penny Parker, or Spider, basically, you have Kimiko Glenn.
I can't wait to explain that character.
Yep. As Peter Parker, or Spider-Man Noir, Nick Cage.
Fantastic! I love it!
He finally got to be a superhero, folks. Not an anti-hero like Ghost Rider. He's a full-on superhero here.
Oh, gosh.
And then, as possibly the biggest shock in the entire film, Olivia Liv Octavius, or Dr. Octopus, as Catherine Hahn. So yeah, the female Doc Ock in this. And Liev Schreiber as Wilson Fisk. I did not realize that was him. I really didn't.
I didn't realize it was him, but... we'll get into it. Sorry.
And then there's a whole bunch of other people that just did pieces in it.
But what a good cast.
Yeah, I mean, solid cast.
Solid voice acting cast. Like a movie, like you can get a bunch of... we've seen it before. You get a voice actors who have big names do these like Disney films, and like they're the voice actor, and you're like, they're kind of phoning it in. It's like, I feel like there was a solid performance out of everyone out of this movie, almost to the quality of like Andrea Romano if she were to be voice directing the cast.
Yeah, I mean it was fantastic, and of course I would be remiss if I didn't point out, yes, there was a Stan Lee cameo in this one.
Yes, and it was really good.
Yeah, I mean it's something that obviously. He wasn't planning on having the issues that he had. But
what a perfect send off.
Yeah, which I mean, it's not his final cameo, so there will be one moving forward. But this was.
But like for the timing and all that,
I
loved it.
This one, and he was in the game as well.
Oh, the game! Have you played the game?
I have not, but I do know. I've seen it. So
man, that by far today is the one in the Spider-Man game is my favorite cameo. Ever of him.
Solid cameos, Stanley. You will be missed.
Oh man.
So yes, that is almost every single Spider-Man and character in this film.
Let's just open the kitchen door and see what else is there.
Okay, I did not know that. I'm just going to spoil it now because I've just read it. So, Oscar...
Oh, you didn't know the...
I did not know. Oscar Isaac plays Miguel O'Hara, or Spider-Man 2099, as I'm fairly certain they would say.
Dude, what a great post-credit scene.
I mean, possibly the best post-credit scene I have ever seen in anything. And then Stan Lee voiced the Earth 67 version of J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, that's fantastic!
Yeah.
Because, like, J. Jonah Jameson is based on Stan Lee.
Yeah.
That's even better.
And he was wishing to portray that character since the 80s. Because it was based on it. So it's the only time he was ever able to do it. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I would still... anytime I see J. Jonah Jameson, I'm always just going to hear J.K. Simmons in my head, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously.
He's like my J. Jonah. Like, no one else has done it better.
No, yeah.
Even if it's Stan Lee. It's
absolutely perfect. Yeah. You're fired. Wait, come back. You're fired.
Give him a raise. Now fire him again. Man.
So, where do you think we should start with this one then? Because we're kind of all over the place to begin with.
Let's just talk about what... Should we just go briefly over what the story is?
Sure, let's give a real quick.
So, we start off with this movie with young Miles yet. We start off with the movie with a great cinematic intro of Spider-Man, voiced by Chris Pine, going through why is it awesome to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
With like, I love it because this movie really tried to capture that comic book feel, and so I love the running gag of, all right, let's do this one more time. Yeah. They open a comic and they just briefly go through his origin, which if you're paying attention to it, and they were very clear in, like, the directors have all come out and said, like, they tried to make that Spider-Man that we were watching in the beginning to be the Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah, I heard that one.
And they actually tried to get Tobey Maguire to voice him originally, but I'm so glad that fell through because Chris Pine, I would love to listen to Chris Pine again. Like, he was really good as Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I really bought his inflection, and like Peter Parker is such a quippy man, but you really have to sell it.
Yeah.
And Chris Pine, I would never have guessed like selling it as the way he did, but we're introduced to him through the story as he's explaining, like, I'm Spider-Man, and I'm the best guy there is. And then we do a hard cut over to Miles, who's just kind of getting ready to go to school, which was, if you're... I don't think that those type of schools exist in America. Like, is what you were saying with him getting ready to go to school, and he stays at school?
I'm sure boarding schools exist. They must do.
Because to me, like, I watched that because in the comics, that's what happened to him. Is like he won a lottery and got to go to this really prestigious school because schools, like, his world was destroyed, and like there was very few schools that were accepting kids, and he got to go to this school. So that's that's a perfect portrayal of the comics and the movie. Is his dad's really forcing him, like, you really need to make this school work. Yeah. Because like you need to have this. This is your chance to live a better life, not to meet the mistakes of my family. Because you see that ongoing dynamic. Jumping ahead again, sorry. So you see Miles going to school. He's really getting the hang of like catching up with his old crowd, his old inmates, slamming his tags, and then his dad catches him. Yeah. He drives him off to school, which leads to that fantastic scene with him and his dad in front of the school.
Yeah, the one that I think it was in the first trailer.
Oh yeah,
and that was the point where I was like, I'm going to see this film.
It's
it
still
just that trailer. It's so cheesy, but the fact that they just were able to do that, and that very quick back and forth.
Oh yeah,
that they had, and it was exactly as you saw it in the
But it's
film.
like how you would expect a family to act.
Yeah,
I love that even on the mom, like he's just like, in a minute, and he's about to walk out the door, and then mom's like giving him kisses, in a minute, like holding him up. It's really cute. I really love that dynamic you saw with the two parents. Like it seemed genuine. It seemed really lighthearted and friendly. Yeah. And so he gets to school, and then when he gets to school, we start to see that he's really kind of an outcast.
Yeah.
That doesn't really fit in with that crowd. So you see him kind of come to terms with that. And at the end of the day, he's like, I just need a break. So he goes to see his uncle. His uncle's like, let's go burn off some steam. This is the uncle, by the way, that has a bit of a shady past as you get to know him a little bit more. But he's that fun uncle. Everyone has that fun uncle that you go to see, or fun aunt. So he helps him to go take off some steam. And then while they're there, he gets bit by a spider. And then we keep following the story where further shenanigans unfold where, boom, Spider-Man dies. Boom, now there's a bunch of Spider-Man. Boom, now he's having to solve the multiverse problem. Boom, they had to have all these inner monologues between the characters, and then boom, big climactic final fight. Boom.
Yeah, it pretty much is non-stop from when the other Spider-Men turn up to the end.
Yes.
There's not a lot of downtime other than absolutely essential.
I want to ask you this, though, because I've heard a lot of people talk about this who have seen the movie. They keep saying, like, the movie is so well paced it's kind of slow at the beginning, but then when it's going, it just keeps going and going and going. And they keep saying that they would love to have seen, like, just another 10 minutes. Like, the movie just needs another 10 minutes to really kind of wrap everything up or to close out some stuff. I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like the movie is really well paced to a point where, like, everything is moving so quick that you really don't have a second to breathe.
No, the only thing that I would have liked more of, it's kind of weird to say, is I would have liked just a little bit more of both the noir Spider-Man and the anime Spider-Girl.
Penny Parker.
Just kind of figuring out what the deal is with this dimension and sort of trying to fit in. I know they're not trying to do that, but I would have just liked to see more of their interaction with this dimension.
I can get behind that. See, like for me, I can move past it because I'm so familiar with the characters, but I get for the general audience, they're not familiar with those characters. They're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You have to really go off of like the one note trope of them, which is Spider-Man is just overly noirish. I mean, and Penny's over bubbly.
It was so close to Spider Cop. He was so close to that.
What's even better for those of you who have not played a Spider-Man game, but Paul and I are referring to in the Spider-Man 2018 game, there's a running gag of Peter keeps trying to joke with the cop about, can I become Spider Cop? And for me, I had a really funny moment in comics because there's this comic going on called Edge of Spider-Geddon, where they're bringing all the Spider-Man in, and they're looking at a screen, and like there really is an image of Spider Cop.
Yeah, it's Spider-Man in with the mask on, with a police hat
Yeah.
and a moustache over the mask.
Yes, and you see Peter goes, "My life is fulfilled."
Yeah, he just goes, "There is a Spider-Cop."
You have no idea how happy this makes me.
Yeah, and it's imagine the way everyone wants Deadpool to continue on the Stan Lee cameo in the Deadpool suit, but with the Stan Lee moustache and the sunglasses, like that. That's the Spider-Cop right there.
So Spider Noir though, he is kind of like, just imagine if he was Batman, but
not
jokey.
Yeah. Yeah, Batman with a sense of humor.
Batman with a sense of humor and just kind of like, he's really deadpan.
Yeah.
And what perfect casting with Nick Cage though.
Yeah, it was so weird. I didn't know that Nick Cage was in this until about 2 weeks before I went to see it. And I was like, Nick Cage? Okay. Like, I mean, fair enough that voice, he's not physically there doing it.
No, but like, I feel like he's really commanding that whole idea of like, I'm really cheesy right now, but like I'm super serious about my cheese, almost to the point like Adam West cheesiness.
Pretty much, Adam West cheesiness, but without the Adam West.
Yeah. It's a different type of cheese, but it's a great cheese.
Yeah,
because I love the whole Rubik's Cube gag.
Wait.
What color is it? It's red. I don't see it.
Yeah. And then, of course, possibly my favorite just little moment in the entire thing is when he is leaving, and he's just like, "I'm taking this with me." I don't understand it, but I want to.
And I love the end credit scenes. Like, you saw like what he does with it. He like turns it into a marketing campaign.
Yeah, but
the cube.
But he finishes it.
He did. He did finish it.
He somehow finishes it.
No, but it's so weird. Like, so you talk about like we need more time. He was one of the characters I was really thrown for a loop because he just says, "I love you all," and I'm taking this cube. Like, that's a weird thing to transition on. Like, I didn't feel like you build up that enough of a relationship with them to like, "I love you all."
Yeah,
like, there's cheesiness. I would have expected it from the pig, not from him.
Yes, no, it's the Spider-Ham. I mean, John Mulaney was a phenomenal choice for Spider-Ham.
Yes.
I don't know how familiar people are with his stand-up, but check out his stand-up.
Did you see like when he did an interview for the movie? Like, he's doing a bunch of like, he has a bunch of his recordings, but he's like really raunchy with them.
Oh yeah, well,
so he posts them all, and they're really funny.
I think, well, yeah, he's a comedian. I mean, one of my favorite things from one of his stand-ups is where he talks about how when he was growing up, he had a babysitter, and so he was 11 and he had this babysitter, and in his head she was 20, 21, and he finds out when he was older that when he was 11 she was 14, and he said, that's like getting a horse to look after your dogs when you're away. Just like, okay, well, the doctor number is on the fridge and the food is in there and you're a horse. And that's exactly the energy that he ended up bringing into this thing. He just died. I mean, he is in a cartoon film. He is a cartoon.
Yes.
So
I love the liberties they took with it. They really went with the Looney Tunes vibe for him.
Oh yeah. Well, he had the giant mallet.
The mallet, but like even like right before he leaves, that's all, folks. And I love that they even like almost to the audience. Can you say that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, and when he gave the mallet to them, it's like, it fits in your pocket. Like, and then you don't see them do anything with it. I was kind of hoping they would try and put it in their pocket and it wouldn't work.
You see his anvil again, even in Miles' fight.
Yes.
I love that they introduced Anvil and like it actually comes back up and just flying around.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, so all of these different Spider-Men, Spider-Women, whatever you want to go with it. I thought it might be difficult to follow. And
for a movie with this much of an ensemble, like so this is where I'll lean into these characters. So like each of these characters for me, like I have an established story in my mind who they are.
Yeah.
Because in the comics, like Miles has his own distinct origin. He they allude to in the movie. He's from a different universe where Spider-Man dies, but his origin is like he really did see Spider-Man die and he didn't step in to help him. So he has to come to terms with living in this world and try to take up the mantle, and he's hated for it.
Right.
Just hated. And like he became just a standout character that he got put into the 616 universe.
Yeah. And does he have, in the comic, does he have the powers that this Miles has?
Yeah. So he has. So Brian Michael Bendis created him initially so that he has invisibility and he has this venom blast.
Right.
He never. So the web shooters is actually really kind of cool to his story because in the comics he doesn't get them from his universe Spider-Man. Like his universe Spider-Man is dead and no one knows how to recreate them.
Right.
So they actually have a crossover where he meets the real Spider-Man.
Like the Spider-Man.
And as a gift, he gives him the web shooters like to show like a Spider-Man approves of him, saying, "Hey kid, you're a good Spider-Man. Take the iconic thing of the web shooters."
Yeah.
And then he's like officially Spider-Man of that universe. So it was a really cool moment in comics.
Yeah, that was cool.
And sorry.
No, I was gonna say I can see that they kind of had that in this
with Aunt May.
Yes, and it was kind of cool that they did it that way, and that they also didn't lean into what the Sam Raimi Spider-Man film did, where like he just naturally somehow had that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never fully understood how that was supposed to work, and it is interesting because I didn't read the comics at all before seeing those films, so it was like, oh, okay, like, is this what he's like in there? And then going back and revisiting the cartoon series and checking out some of the comics and flipping through those, so yeah, this is kind of unique.
Yeah.
They did that.
No, it's really... So I really am shocked at how accurate they got each of those characters and how little time they did. Like, Spider-Gwen, she literally was introduced in 2014.
Oh.
She is really, really new. She has an ongoing comic right now. She actually just got renamed to Ghost Spider, but the story they portrayed that's her story. Like, she in her universe, she gets the spider powers. Peter Parker is like her friend, and he gets really jealous of her. So he takes the lizard formula and then dies from it.
Right.
And so like she really does become a recluse in her universe.
Right. So they were following all of the comics, which is fantastic to hear.
The only two characters that were not accurate, but I'm perfectly okay with because there's such little material on them.
Yes.
Is Spider Noir. Because he really is just a grumpy asshole. He's just a grumpy man in his comic.
Right.
Because like he really is from like the 1930s, and like his whole origin is like he's living through the Great Depression, and he is just pissed. He's just angry at the world, and he's just trying to beat criminals.
Right.
This one, they're like, we probably can't do that with a kid movie.
Right. Yeah. They're like, okay, it would be fun to have that guy dumped into this. But it would be fun for 2 minutes.
But I like what they did. So I was like, I'm okay with this. They tweaked him in a way that I like him still. He's still the character I know, but they cheesed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Penny Parker was a huge deviation because she literally only has 2 comics. There are literally only 2 comics that she's ever appeared in.
They really could kind of do what they wanted.
They could do whatever the hell they want. But here's the thing that's weird about it. So she was created by the guy from My Chemical Romance, the lead singer. He created her.
Okay.
Yeah, that's weird to think about. But the way he created the comic, it's meant to be an Evangelion knockoff.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you saw him with the spider.
Right.
Yeah. So like her whole character is meant to be like an Evangelion like inspired. So
right.
it was like whether they went with her character, I was okay with because like in her comic she's really depressing, but like likable, yeah. Just given that she's living in a very downtrodden world and all that. But it's just so funny, like 2 comics, and we're gonna make her a limelight character. I'm like, wow, really? Which, like, if you ever see her actual, what she looks like in the comics, the mech looks totally different.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, they literally made her an anime
Spider-Man.
So yeah, I'm sure they were just going visuals up, which.
Trying to show Paul what that's what Spider looks like.
Okay.
You can see the Eva Evangelion knockoff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I'm okay with the redesign of the character.
Yeah. Well, I think that Yeah, speaking of the design and stuff, so what did you feel about the animation style of this film?
I think it's phenomenal. I know so much praise has been lauded on this movie for its animation style, but it really is. I don't think there's anything out there with this type of style.
Not specifically this, no. And
if you really, really look closely, because I've seen it twice, if you look closely, even when it gets blurry, it's got a bunch of those little dots like in old school comics.
Yeah, full on, not just cell shaded, but they've actually gone and put the original comic style into it, especially when they glitch.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool.
It's super cool to watch, and I think it's benefits only for that.
Yeah.
The only downside to it is like when they're out of focus, it really. This is where my only problem with the movie was, visually wise, is that when it does like when you're not focused on one of these other characters and they're fighting into the background, I feel like I'm watching like a 3D movie without the glasses on.
Okay.
Because like it really kind of like stands off and looks really odd to me, and I'm like really annoyed because like why can't I see it? It's like out of focus. I think I need to put on some 3D glasses to see it.
I can kind of see what you're getting at there. I mean, I would liken it to when you're okay. Let's go with Smash Brothers Melee.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of stages in that where you can be fighting, and in the background you can see another stage with people fighting on it.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, where it's like, okay, there's something over there. I can't really make out.
Well,
what
we can test
is.
right now. I have Super Smash in the car.
Oh, there we go. Let's just bring that on out. So it'll be excellent for an audio podcast.
Look at this!
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, this is exactly what we were talking about.
We were just looking up images of Penny Parker.
Well, yes, I mean, it's this thing where I saw the style from the original trailer, obviously, and I was like, okay, this is something I can really get behind. I really enjoy this style.
Again,
of
the
animation.
marketing.
And then the next trailer came out, and I was like, okay, yeah, so this is the style. Like this, they're sticking with it. And then I was a little worried that what might be happening was we'd have this style to begin with, and then when the other Spider-Man came in, or I didn't know, or this Spider-Man went to the other universe, or whatever, they would change the style of the film to fit something else. So I was like, I really didn't want the style to change from what I saw in the trailer, and with the exception of clearly the style of the Spider-Man themselves, they didn't change it at all.
No.
And it would... Not only is it fantastic, if this thing doesn't win an Oscar for something...
It needs to win... I don't know if it needs to win for screenwriting, but visually it needs to win some accolades.
Yeah, it's got to have something.
Or be acknowledged.
It needs to have something at the end of the year. It's just...
Whoever came up with the idea of we need to make this stand out was a genius.
Yeah, I mean...
And not only that, I am hugely impressed that this film, visually, story-wise and all that, it's all PG.
Yep.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah, I mean, and even you have a character brutally murder another character.
Chest caved in.
Yeah, like, and obviously you don't see specifically the chest caved in, but you see it happen, and you also see him shoot another guy in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't really see blood or anything like that, but you know it's happened, and the guy dies. Like, it's really well done that they were able to do that. And I know that maybe in other countries this film could be a 12 rather than a PG, or 12A rather than PG, just because violence is, especially in America, violence is typically seen as more okay and easier to deal with than other things. So this film might have got a higher rating just because someone does just slam their fist into another character and kills them outright. Like, not exactly ideal. But yeah, this film was something. It did something that you really don't see very often, and I don't know if it was because they did it in animation, so they had full control over literally everything you see.
I hope they did.
And like, it could just be that they were able to just go, you know what, we are going to make this accessible to literally anyone. Like, we want to make sure that this gets to everyone and that everyone will enjoy it that enjoys animated films. I happen to know at least one person that will not watch animated stuff because it's not real. That is their defense for that, which isn't a defense, but anyway.
I bet you could convince her. This is a really good one.
No, yes, I
think this is like anyone who says like they're burned out on comic books or burned out. I think this is the perfect way to revitalize that spark of like this is what you can do with.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a fresh break from like the live action stuff.
Yeah, and well, that's actually something I was going to ask you about because this film, one of the reasons I liked it so much, like regardless of the fact that I don't own comic books, I enjoy reading them, but I don't own them myself. I don't have A, the money, or B, the space to put them anywhere.
That's why you buy digitally, like I do.
Yes, well, it comes back to the money for that.
Yeah.
But yes, when it comes to this film, one of the reasons I liked it so much was that it looked exactly like a comic book. And that's kind of what I wanted originally from comic book films, which is actually one of the reasons why I actually enjoy watching Hulk. Most people hate
first
that
Hulk?
one. Yes, the Ang Lee Hulk. I enjoy watching it because despite the fact that it is not good, despite the fact that they took giant liberties with some of the characters,
there's a giant pink Hulk poodle.
Yes, there is. But it looks like a comic book at times.
I would argue it tries to. And
they do.
I will give you that. I've seen the movie. I will give you credit that they did try it.
They tried, and that's what I appreciate for it. I also didn't mind Eric Bana as Bruce Banner, not just because the name worked, but you know, I kind of enjoyed seeing him as Bruce Banner. I didn't enjoy Edward Norton, for instance, in The Incredible Hulk. So nothing against Edward Norton because I've seen him in fantastic roles, but I just didn't buy his Bruce Banner. So now they did Hulk better in The Incredible Hulk than they did in Hulk, but Bruce Banner was better. It's the same thing I have with the Spider-Man before you have Tom Holland.
Yeah,
which is that Tobey Maguire was a great Peter Parker and Andrew Garfield is a fantastic Spider-Man, but they are not good the other way around. So
no, I would argue. Do you have,
in my opinion,
that vice versa?
Yeah, as in
that Tobey Maguire was a great Spider-Man.
No, I think that Tobey Maguire did better as I believed him more as Peter Parker, at least based on my recollection of watching the show and stuff growing up. But Andrew Garfield nailed the fast-talking Spider-Man.
Yeah, I would just feel like he captured the personality. I don't know. The two films are so diametrically different.
Oh, they
but
are.
each capture an essence of Spider-Man that people kind of got attached to, and in this movie they figured out the equation somehow.
Yes,
because like the original Spider-Man, like that was people's first introduction to him, so like it had to be the origin. It had to bring us to the understanding of who the character was. Where it ended is a different matter, but granted, it was successful in introducing us to a character that no one had an understanding of. And then the second one's like, okay, we know this character, let's flesh him out a bit more. What have we not seen? We haven't seen him be what we understand in comics, which is he's quippy, he's funny, he's relational, like he's very interpersonal with people. Like he's not a standoffish dude crying in a corner all the time. No, he's very like I love that whole scene with him and the oh no, not a knife, my weakness. Like he's great in that. The rest, I would still say you could probably agree with me that Andrew Garfield was actually a really good actor. The actors were great in those movies. They're just terrible movies.
Yes, no, they are. I've actually still not watched all of the second Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh.
And I don't want to.
No.
I appreciate what they ended up doing with Gwen Stacy. I appreciated the fact that they actually
the chemistry of those two characters. Those two characters are phenomenal.
Yeah, despite the fact that Gwen Stacy yells out Peter's name in front of
all
of the NYPD.
Well, there's 1,000 people named Peter. Like they're not gonna.
Yeah,
but also
Gwen Stacy yelling out her boyfriend's name. When Spider-Man is swinging away, I wonder what's going to happen there. Apparently, everybody in the NYPD is a complete idiot, and that is only in that film. I'm not actually saying that about any member of the NYPD. I want to make that doubly clear. But yeah, this film, I really, really enjoyed the way that they were able to, they were able to take all of these characters that were like effectively they're all Spider-Man. Like,
yes.
We know that. We've seen so many other iterations of it, but as you said, the fact that there were so many of them together, and yet they were obviously so clear who was who, but they were all so different that they all had their own like little moments and stuff like that, and it never got dull.
No, it was, but I think that's just due to the pacing.
Exactly.
I think it was a great idea, story-wise, to make him play off of a bitter Parker.
Yes.
I think that was brilliant, because like that's why I got confused by the trailers. Like the trailers make it out to be like Peter's like really on for like taking him on. And this movie is like, I do not want to deal with a child. I do not want to deal with this. I'm bitter. I'm jaded. I don't give a damn. Yeah. Which is like the part. So like that's someone said it best. The two Parkers we got are like the two embodiments of what Peter is in comics. He really is this happy-go-lucky dude who can just do anything and will always get back up. But there is that, like, he has just got the worst luck anyone has ever had on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
I broke my back. I lost my marriage. And I think it was like this. Not only that, I love that he was a chubby Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, it's just kind of giving up on himself a little bit.
Well, like, it's a lot. It's playfully picking fun at a character that we love.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there's...
But still giving them reverence.
Well, there's the other aspect of it as well, which is that it appears that some Spider-Man mythos has it that from the second he's bitten, anything that would be considered wrong with him is fixed, so his eyesight's better, and he's also just kind of in shape.
Yeah.
Like, just cause. But that's not the case across all of these Spider-Man and it's clearly not the case with him.
No.
Because he's put on the pounds a little bit.
With the pizzas.
And yet, like, when he's just eating the burger and you got that thing like, yeah, this place shut down 6 years ago. Yeah, and it was, I think the most interesting thing as well is that, and it doesn't quite make sense if you follow the general understanding of alternate dimensions, is that they're all running at the same time as now. Mm-hmm. So their present is up, and now maybe the year is slightly different, but effectively you now is the same age as you in all the other dimensions, whereas the Peter Parker that we get for like the main alternate Peter Parker is what, 20 years older than Miles?
Yeah. Because I think the first Parker we meet is 26, and then the next Parker we meet, I think he's 33. I think they say that they definitely imply that he's in his mid 30s.
Yeah, and he's definitely older than the Parker from
this
dimension, and then he is way older than.
But it's not uncommon for a different universe. Like, this is me reading comics for years. Well, different universes, like, I mean, Spider-Noir, he's in his 30s.
Yeah, but he's
that's how
also
he is.
in the 30s.
Yeah, true.
True. So I would, at least, if I were going to attempt to kind of come up with a logic of it in terms of general multiverse theory, would be that in his dimension now is the 30s. So it's like, so that's how that equates stuff. But yeah,
Spider-Man's 16, Miles is 15.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Miles isn't Spider-Man, so the issue I had there wasn't that him and Peter Parker were different ages.
I hear you on your logic on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If my problem was the fact that Miles Morales wasn't the same age as Peter Parker, that would be a bit odd.
No, I get your thing.
But that's it. I didn't actually mind it, really. I mean, he needed someone that was that much older and jaded to come around to and help create the tension, obviously.
Yeah. It's actually, so to bring in all 5 characters, it's kind of funny how they each had an arc.
Yep.
Even if it's so brief, it was an arc that they each went on. I would argue the main characters are Gwen, Miles, and Peter.
Yeah, Peter B. Parker.
Peter B. Parker.
Yeah, definitely. They are quite clearly the ones at the front, and the other
2 are just for the tag along.
Yeah, the other 3 are just kind of there in the background, and
they add great stuff to the material. I think they're meant to just add stuff to the background to make these characters stand out more.
Yeah, definitely, and it just helped to show how they're all different. And I did enjoy right towards the end when they're all starting to glitch, when they're all trying to swing in and all that, and it's like, nope, slam. Like, oh, okay, yeah, this is clearly getting worse for them. And it did kind of feel like it fell by the wayside a little bit when they mentioned that the longer they'd be in this universe, the more this stuff would happen.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, it's not really happening that
much.
often.
It's only just happening like it's just it happens when it's convenient for the plot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do love, but they do time it very well.
Of plot armor.
Yeah.
Kind of the.
But it is funny how they time it. Like I love that scene right after the interrogation scene with him and Miles. Like he's about to swing off and falls right on his face.
Yeah.
Are you okay? No. I'm in pain.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well. You wouldn't have been able to do it with live action.
Mm-hmm.
That scene where the two of them are going up and down on the other walls, and he's just walking out to say, nope.
But it's so beautifully done. I felt.
Yeah.
I really like that scene because it's something that to me is like straight out of a comic book. I would see two characters just fighting or just talking on the side of a building. Like that's what Peter does.
Yeah.
But for me, like they use this like unique angling of that thing. Like these guys are staying sideways, and I love it because you see that there's a guy in his apartment. He just sees two people hanging sideways on his place. He's like, "Oh boy," and he walks away. Like clearly, like acknowledge, like this is weird.
Yeah. It was fun just to see them doing all that, and it also interesting. I looked up Spider-Gwen basically, and it seems that she has slightly different abilities. So original Spider-Man can effectively stick to any surface with any part of him.
Yeah.
But Spider-Woman or Spider-Gwen or however you want to refer to her as, she can only stick to things using her hands and feet, and that is it. And if you watch in this film, like it follows that, like she does only stick to stuff using the hands and feet. And so it's kind of fun, and I kind of wish they hadn't spoiled one of the funnier moments in the trailer because it would have been way funnier in the cinema, which is when all of them are up on the ceiling. Spinning
yeah, that would have been way funnier if like I don't want to freak them out, man.
Yeah. Do animals talk in this dimension?
See, for me, I actually got annoyed at that scene because that's when you introduce Genki.
Yeah.
So Genki to me is like he's meant to be Miles' best friend in the comics,
right?
And Genki's like the guy who helps him create spider webs. Like in the Homecoming movie, his buddy in that, that's basically Genki.
Okay.
So like to me, when I saw Genki come up, I'm like, "It's Genki," and they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna make him freak out." I'm like, "Oh, that sucks." So like I love Genki because he's just so funny and like he's here guys, but we're not gonna focus on him. Which again, it was smart. They really tried to focus in on the characters that we were already following.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it was one thing that again it probably helped with pacing. Like they had him kind of freak out and faint, which is what everyone does, and they put him to bed. And he didn't ever seem to bring it up at any point. After that, he just kind of woke up and then rolled over and went back to sleep. Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, complete denial. I get it.
So we're talking about like the different scenes in the movie. I love when Miles is getting his powers.
Yeah.
And he just straight up freaks out and like some reason loses all his clothes. Like, that's how I imagine. Like if you were to wake up one day with powers like he did, you would just have the worst day possible. Rips a girl's hair out, stuck somehow naked on the side of a building. It's like, what the hell is happening to me?
Yeah. Well, and then of course when they straight up pay attention to it and say like, yeah, this is exactly what Peter went through, and he's living through the comic book.
It's a comic sticking to his hands. Why is it sticking?
It was kind of cool, and I liked how they didn't really end up having him have any real control over his power until the very end. Like when he finally was able to come to terms with what he'd been dealing with.
Well, that was his whole character arc. Like in the movie, every single thing that he ever faced, he ran from.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was like, someone had to point this out to me. I was like, oh, I really like the movie, but I don't know why I liked it. And someone pointed out to me, the reason you really got hooked on Miles is because he was always running from his problems. Even when people were giving him the help he needed and he wanted that role, he always ran.
Yeah.
Even when his uncle died, he ran. And it wasn't until the end when he had to take the leap of faith to be Spider-Man that he actually started to understand who he was.
Yeah, and it was so cool that they had that sort of arc in it, because you've seen it in other Spider-Man films where he gets the powers and then 2 days later he has full control of all of his powers, whereas this
It's a believable amount of time that he's gonna not do this well.
Yeah, and of course the bit where he's just stuck on the light and he's just like, how do you relax? And he just starts singing. Like, what are you doing?
That's a great scene for the Octavius reveal.
Yeah,
I love it. Like you said, they didn't reveal that. When she revealed who that was, I was stunned. I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah,
I love this.
And you'd seen her earlier, as well. Just
they established her in the universe
as a scientist, and they didn't say her name at all.
No.
So there was nothing. You didn't even end up him walking in. You hear Virus or something, as you might in some other things. So it was really cool. And then, just having her be fascinated. I was like, oh, there's this other Spider-Man thing. Okay, yeah. And then Sister Michelle's like, oh, that's going to be really painful. Can't wait to watch. like, what? Ooh, this is interesting. Where's this going? And then, of course, she is.
So, Miles the whole time.
Yeah.
What's the number?
Yeah. Well, you don't look a day over 35.
I don't know. I just love the quippiness of this movie. I think the writing was spot on for this movie. And any given dialogue between characters, it would have been believable between the personality and the character type that they were.
Yeah, and the screenplay was by Phil Lord and Rodney Rothman, and the story is by Phil Lord. So,
do you know what other things that he's done?
I do not. I was about
so
to
he's
really
done both Cloudy with a Meatball movies, and the other one, which is a big fame to his name, is the Lego Movie.
Oh, okay. So I mean, that's someone that knows how to write quirky characters.
Yes.
So that helps.
I wonder if this is just a super weird accident that Sony stumbled upon. I think they were really pushing, because when they announced this movie hasn't been in development very long.
No, it can't have been.
No. So I really think Sony was really kind of just pushing this out, and it went through a few directors, and what we got was what was left. But it turned out to be a pretty good project because people put so much heart and life into it. This could have been an absolute failure. There was so much in this that could have wrecked a franchise.
Yeah, definitely.
This could have just destroyed them. Now, I worry for Sony now because Sony's like, we're riding high. Let's make more Venom movies. We're going to do a Spider-Woman movie. And we're going to do a sequel to this movie. I'm like, oh no, Sony, you've learned the wrong thing.
I genuinely don't know. I was going to ask you about this. I genuinely don't know what a sequel to this film could be.
I think you could do a few. So I think
maybe I mean the idea that I kind of thought of is rather than doing a sequel to this film, do films along the other collaborative comic lines. So like the Spider-Geddon thing that's going on and that sort of just do one-off films on those in this kind of style because it'll work better rather than okay, we're going to come back to Miles 5 years later. No, we don't want to come back to Miles 5 years later.
There's so much potential because I think this is a great movie to build off a franchise. You could make a spin-off of any of these characters and people are now interested and invested. There is good principal down payment now for us. We've seen these characters, we liked them, we would like to see more of them.
Oh, you know what I want then? I don't want any more films, spin-offs or anything like that. I want short TV shows. Spin-offs.
Well, here's what I think you could do. This is be if I were at Sony and I got this movie that was fresh on the plate to me. Here's what I would have done.
Okay.
You have to make a Peter Porker cartoon.
Yeah.
Because you can easily do whatever the hell you want with it, and you're not going to offend anyone, and you're going to have a kids base that's going to dig it. And if you're funny enough with it, you might attract a few adults with it. Yeah. You can spin that off. I think Spider Noir You can't do anything with him. I think what you do with him is any movie you create now going forward, he's just a short video, like mini videos that you show, like him doing something weird, like solving the great mystery of the milkshake, or stuff like that, like stupid noir little stories, but it's like have a campiness to them.
Yeah. Well, and then the last one that you bring out is showing him trying to end up, solving the Rubik's Cube. And and it turns out someone else solves it.
Yeah.
he doesn't solve it.
Peter Porker pops in like, dude, seriously, there, fine, go. I will think I don't know Penny Parker could carry her own movie because you could, because she has unlimited story potential because no one's written for her.
Yeah.
She has 2 comics to her name. So, like, you can't ask for a bigger blank slate than that. But I think you could either do a movie with her, or I think you do another spin-off show with her.
Yeah, I know.
She has untapped potential.
It would have to be an anime style thing if
Yeah.
you were going to go down that route. Hell, maybe she somehow ends up running into Ruby.
There you go.
Somehow they clash.
Rooster Teeth, get on that.
Yes. But yeah, personally, I was thinking of it, and I was like, as much as I enjoyed the character and where it could go, I'm fine with not seeing her again, just because...
What, Penny?
Yeah, because I don't know... I'd happily read the comics, but I don't know if bringing her back... I don't know if she would work perfectly not as part of this ensemble and diving too far into it.
I would agree.
Now, I am interested in... going to see Battle Angel Alita.
Really?
Based on the trailers, and so I might see that as a spiritual successor, even though it's not in the slightest.
No, that looks so... Anything that's CGI-ish, I can't get behind.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I saw the first...
With live action.
I saw the first trailer for it, and Christoph Waltz is in it. That's what it's a tick. And then it just felt like I was watching an anime fight when that was going on, and I have seen a few live action animes that do not hold up to the potential of that.
Goose in the shell.
I didn't say it. I wanted to, but I didn't say it. But yeah, it looks like something that will actually be more faithful than most things I've seen in the past. So I'm cautiously optimistic, especially given who's behind it.
You know what this gets me excited for going forward?
I do not. What is it?
This really opens the door to like the widestream media. Like comic book media is at an all-time high.
Oh yeah.
Like it's at an all-time high, but it's really been catered more to the adult crowd. Kids happen to just be a byproduct. Like, I love Captain America. This is the first one I could genuinely say I could give to any kid at any age.
Yeah, okay.
And you can build a whole new generation of kids of understanding why is Peter Parker cool? Why is Spider-Man cool? Why? Not only that, I love what it did for the culture as a whole.
Yeah.
Because I'm not kidding when I say this. There are so many African-American kids that get excited to see a black Spider-Man.
Yeah. No.
And I think that's amazing because as a comic reader for the past 5-6 years, it really is a bunch of white guys. There's a ton of white characters that no one can really get, they can't see themselves as. Yeah. And that was what made Marvel famous in the beginning, was Stan Lee wrote characters that you can kind of get behind. Spider-Man was the first kid superhero. He wasn't a sidekick. He was a superhero who had to struggle with real-life issues. Not having parents. His aunts are raising him. His uncle is dead. That's real life. Fantastic Four was this family that got together and they made it work, even though they fought with each other all the time. The X-Men were characters who experienced segregation, but they were all white. So, for me, it's cool to see Miles have such a huge impact on the culture this way. This is my Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What you just pull? You pulled up Stag Shock.
I did. I was going to say, this is something that I saw ages ago, and it's kind of what you're talking about, and it's from the show, and it's I never knew how important it would be to meet a role model like you, and it's a black superhero there saying role model, and he said, yeah, black superhero. I don't know, it validates me somehow. And he said, heroes come in every colour, my friend. He said, I know, but it's just that sometimes I wish there was a black superhero back home for folks to look up to.
Yeah.
And it's like that.
Which Static is a great one. I love Static.
And so it was as you were talking, it's like that what popped into my head. It's like, yeah, this is something that pretty much every iteration was a white guy. Almost every single iteration of every popular superhero recently, with the exception of Black Panther, has been white.
And you saw how big of effect it had on the culture for Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like, it had a huge impact.
So it's something that I think will be good moving forward, because I'm sure there's still that slight stigma, despite the fact that I like to think that the majority of people at this point in time are perfectly fine with whatever. So someone from Asian descent is a superhero. Okay, sure. Yeah, because why not?
Yeah.
But the problem is that the people that are in charge of all of this sort of stuff have, until very recently, been older people who are probably like, well, I wouldn't necessarily want to see that, so I'm not going to greenlight that. Yeah. And now they're being replaced by people who are just like, well, that's stupid. Yeah. And they're moving ahead with this. So I do like that we're going to, moving forward, only get more diverse stuff, and that will open up possible storylines that we wouldn't see if it was just a white-centered person. So really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out, and I say that as a middle-class white person myself.
I know. For me, it's just really cool to see people find themselves on the screen.
Yeah.
Because, like, in comics, there's always, like, in the past, 10 years, there's been this huge push for our diversity characters. Right. And a lot of people are really getting excited. Like, they get these characters, like, right now, there's a Korean Hulk that people are, Amadeus Cho is the Hulk, and people are kind of getting behind that. There's a black Iron Man now, Riri Williams. People are getting behind it. And it's cool for me to see, like, I've seen this kind of happening in the comics, that people are finding the characters that they can latch onto. That's their character.
Yeah.
Like, for me, my character is always going to be X-23 and Miles. Like, those are the two characters that really got me in the comics.
Right.
And to see characters like Miles come to the big screen, like, I won't even lie, Miles was my first character I got hooked onto. Like, he was, like, him and X-23 are so attached to me that when I saw them faithfully portrayed on the screen, I did cry. Right. There was I don't know, it was a scene where that beautiful scene where Miles jumps off the building and it takes the leap. I started crying because, like, this is him coming into his own. Like, he became Spider-Man. And it was such a cool moment for me to see, like, the character I loved that I watched from his creation to all the way to the big screen was amazing to see. And I finally get it. Like, people were talking about, like, why Wonder Woman was such a huge monumental piece for them for the female culture.
Yeah.
To see a female character take the big screen in that way that people got way behind. I finally kind of get it as a male now. Yeah. Like, to see a character that people have iconicized for years to have made it to the big screen and been done so well to the point of, like, I'm all for this.
Yeah, and also the last thing that I was going to mention it at the time and I didn't, but yeah, that scene where he jumps off and the glass comes off.
Oh, yeah.
By far the smoothest frames in the entire film.
And that soundtrack.
That I want that screenshot just after he's kicked off.
Yeah.
I want that as my background on my laptop. Like, that's something that I want to be able to see, like, every now and again. I would frame it and put it up on my wall. That was an astonishing.
Visually, the whole movie's just like that. The whole movie, like, you.
Well, that's the thing. It's not even saying that necessarily the rest of the film doesn't look as good as that.
No, but like,
to me, that shot,
when it stands out, like when it's going haywire with the graphics, it always looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like that whole final fight scene, like there's a lot of shenanigans going on there, and you're having a hard time following it, but it looks so beautiful. You're watching, like, I can't take my eyes off this.
Yeah.
Like, you could really screw something up like that, and they really do a good job with it.
Yeah, and I think it really showed that everyone that worked on this must have, they must have known we cannot screw this up. Like, there had to have been that thing like, we will be lynched if we mess this up.
Not only that, it's the first movie, like, comic books are terrible about this, and I'm happy the movie did this. They didn't let Peter Parker save the day.
Nope.
This was truly Miles' story.
Yeah.
From beginning to end, this is Miles' story. And there's a ton of characters in it, but they are meant to inspire our protagonist to coming into his own. And I love that scene. I I got Misty out of that scene. He's like, how do I know I won't screw up? You won't. It's a leap of faith, and lets him go.
Yeah.
And he's like, now it's time for me to come into my own. It's like, this is such a, like, it capsulizes everyone's stories. It really centers in, like, yeah, let's get hyped.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, we've been talking about this film for almost an hour now, but it's like, yeah, this film just had so much good stuff on it, and to be perfectly frank, Sony needed a win.
They needed
like
a win.
This film, and I really, really hope they take the good lessons from this.
I don't know if they will.
I don't know either, but
because they have a Spider-Woman movie in the works with they're going forward with Spider-Gwen,
right? Which could be good, could be. We'll see.
I think it could. I think they've established enough of a personality if they build off of that.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's it. Again, if they have the same, or at least as much as possible, the same creative team behind it, it'll go well. The problem's going to be if they end up going with like, okay, we're going to make this one, but this group is going to stick with the sequel we want for this film. Let's just give this to another one. It's like you're going to need some of these people to.
Well, here's the cool part for me. Not just the creators. I found out afterwards, like, I follow a lot of the writers for the characters that were created in this movie on Twitter, and they all mentioned, like, they actually came and contacted us, and they wanted to get our input on the movie of how this character should be in the film. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because, like, you don't hear that often. They're like, we're going to do our own spin. We'll read the comics a little bit. But they went to the creators. And like you said, I hope that they bring that same creative drive. Like, let's bring the comic creators. Let's bring the film creators. Let's get everyone on the same page so we can continue off of this, hype train that we created.
Yeah, and I'm interested, like, just looking at the information about this sequels and spin-off. The Spider-Woman film that will focus on 3 generations of female spider-related characters, such as Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman, and Silk.
Mm-hmm.
And Beck Smith is writing it, and Lauren Montgomery is directing it, possibly going to direct it. And the spin-offs could extend into other media, such as TV stuff, which Lord and Miller both expressed interest in seeing a series of shorts starring Spider-Ham. So,
told you, Spider-Ham could do it. I think you can't do a full movie with him, but you could do a lot of good funny material, because he's a character you don't oversaturate. You have to be he's meant to be in sparse.
Yeah.
You don't use him, you don't milk it all the way. You go, we'll just sprinkle him here and here and here.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward, and I'm going to reserve judgment for each one based on its own merits as much as I can.
I know, like, as much as people, I for one thing, all I can say is that this is a good standalone one and done movie.
Yes.
Even when they're teasing stuff, it was meant to be a joke. You're not meant to, like, the teasing trailer right at the end.
Yeah.
It's not advertising anything new. They were truly just doing a joke.
Yeah.
If they do something with it, that would be awesome. But if the rest of the movies tank, I can say for sure that I have one definitive Spider-Man movie that I can come back to 100 times over, and I can say this is a great film.
And then it will just always end with the, like, stop pointing at me. No,
That's
you're
not
pointing
pointing at me. He really pointed at me. No, he pointed first.
Yeah, the fact that they worked that Spider-Man meme into it.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm so glad they did that. And I sat there and I watched I think there were about 20 other people sitting with me in the cinema when we were watching this, and I watched about 80% of them leave before the credits really started going. So I was like, oh, all right, I know there's something, but I don't know what it is. So I was like, all right. And then when it started, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. And then when he landed, I was like, no. And then they did it. I was like, this is the best after credits scene ever.
It's the best. I love the whole end credit stuff. The end credit stuff was awesome.
Yeah.
Like the graphic, because they did. I've been loving what they're doing with credits. Like, they realize people are now getting bored. Like, as soon as credits come on, they head out. So they're like, why don't we just make it into a little animated bit?
Yeah.
But on top of that, if you were listening to the music, they right near the end of the credits, they introduce a Spider-Man singing a Christmas song.
Yeah, I mean, the actual thing that you have him as again, feels like a throwaway joke in the original okay, here's let me tell you about myself on Spider-Man.
That's
I even recorded a Christmas album, and it you see that for about 5 seconds, and it goes away, and then they bring it back right at the end, and I'm sure it's Chris Pine singing it. I
have a PhD. What's even funnier is it had such huge popularity that they actually started to put out songs of the Christmas song.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, they really did well with this one. So
Sony,
I'm hoping they can continue that way.
Sony, you did it once. Apparently, you did it twice with Venom, but I don't see how the heck you did it.
Yeah. Well, I think Tom Hardy is the draw.
Tom Hardy, he is really good in the movie. Him, because he's also voicing Venom.
Right.
So he's actually really funny off of himself. But again, it's one of those like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Great actors, terrible script, terrible movie altogether.
Yeah, great actors trying to do the best they can with what they have.
And not only that, spoilers, everyone. So if you need, plug your ears for 30 seconds. But the end credits to Venom is Woody Harrelson in prison writing his name. There's going to be carnage. But when you look at Woody Harrelson, he's wearing this god-awful wig. This bright red wig that does not look good on him.
Oh, of course.
It's like, oh, you lost a budget here. Like, you just had to grab whatever was on the counter. This is bad.
Yeah, no, he found Bozo's wig next door.
Oh, so like I'm like, oh, this is bad sign for our future. This is a bad sign.
Yeah. Oh
well. But Sony, congrats on doing one good film.
Yes.
And not only that, a film that had such a cultural impact. You get one pass from me.
Just one.
Just one. Now going forward, learn, please.
Yes, please
Because
learn.
there's a reason why Marvel had to like partner with you to get Spider-Man right on the screen. There's a very, very good reason they did it.
Yes. I don't think I've got anything else.
I don't think I got anything else.
Alright, so thank you everyone for sitting through another just fangirling about the film, which kind of deserves it, really. I would say it was a pleasant surprise, but I kind of knew going in I would probably enjoy it.
I thought it was a pleasant surprise because I was going in with the expectation that this is going to be bad. So I'm happy. My expectations were shattered.
I came away enjoying it way more than I thought I would. So
and one final thing to bring up is that final quote at the end with Stan Lee.
Yeah.
I think that was a perfect way to if you left out before the end credits, to walk away is like anyone can wear the mask. I love that message.
Yeah.
So, a movie that's going to hit the culture. It's going to do great as its own as a cinema marvel. It's going to do great for stories. It's going to do great for the culture. So, I'm happy this film exists.
Yes, me too, and I'm looking forward to watching it again when it's finally available on.
I gotta buy every version of this now.
Alright, so with all of that being said, I've been Paul.
I've been Pat.
And I'll see you again later. Bye.
Bye. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.